Guys, welcome back. My name's Mike. Hope you're doing great and having a wonderful day. So today I want to do a reading tag. As far as I know, this is an original tag. Now I don't want to take credit for it if it's not. So if you've seen someone else do this, please let me know and put it in the description. The title of it is the Why I Read tag. It's got 10 questions. So let's just get started here. First question is, when did reading become important to you? Was it earlier, later in life, or something you came back to? For me, it was later in life. I was about 19 when I started reading, but even at 19, I wasn't a serious reader. I didn't really become a serious reader probably until my mid-20s, and I have been ever since. Number 2, what does reading give you that nothing else does? Might be a cliche answer, but escapism. It gives me peace and calm, solitude, where I can just be by myself with the book and that story and, get away from everything else in the world. Meaning, well, no, that's not a good one for me, but that's the best answer I have on that. Number 3 is, why do you still read as an adult? Well, because for me, it's accessible. Books are accessible, I think probably for most of us. I know there's some countries where you have harder time getting certain books that you want, and the options are limitless. There's so many genres, so many different books and authors, probably a million different topics out there that you can pick from. So that's why I read as an adult. Number 4 is, what kind of reader are you right now? A mood reader, slow reader, binge reader, comfort reader, etc. I would say comfort reader for sure, because it comforts me. It relaxes me. I wouldn't say a slow reader, but I do like to enjoy what I'm reading. I don't like to force myself to rush through it. And maybe a binge reader sometimes. Only I say that because sometimes I get a book, like right before or the day after Christmas, I started Flowers for Algernon, and I think I read it in like 3.5, 4 days. That's pretty quick for me. So I binge read that, but it was really good. I enjoyed it. So next one, number 5 is, what makes a book worth finishing for you? For me, the character-driven stories. The plot for sure too, but mostly character. The emotional pull, when the author can make you care so much about a character and that story and what's going on, Number 6, what makes you stop reading a book? This is kind of a touchy one probably for most people because it's going to be very personal, very subjective to you. But for me, there's a few things. I don't know how to word it on YouTube, but anything like forced into stuff, people forced into stuff, sexually, slave labor, stuff like that. Anything that has to do with like immorality towards anybody, but women or children specifically. And if the book's just flat out on purpose being very immoral and gross and graphic, just for the sake of selling, which I know there are books out there, that I don't know what they're called, but they're very intense and they've got some very far out there crazy stuff. I'm not going to read that kind of stuff. Number 7, why do you choose books over other entertainment? For me, it's because it's calming and relaxing. For example, like, I'm at work all day and your mind's going all day. You come home, you still got stuff to do. If you have kids and things, you would understand. You can't come home and just shut off a lot of times. But for me, it's like I don't want to come home and then maybe jump straight on the TV and watch something, or jump on YouTube and watch something, because I just want my mind to just rest. So I'll get a book that I'm reading and, just kind of take a deep breath. That's kind of what it feels like, and just fall into the story and think about the story and not everything else for a little bit. Number 8, what themes keep pulling you back? For me, it's redemption, justice, love, character identity. I'm really drawn to the characters that have come from nothing and have made something for themselves, you know, that have a rough past, bad past maybe, but they've overcome all those obstacles and they've made it to where they are now. That's one thing that keeps pulling me, and I read a lot of stories like that. And this next one kind of goes with that. In my opinion, what book best represents why you read? For me, that's going to be The Count of Monte Cristo. I just read this last year. And these have every point that I just mentioned about the redemption, justice, identity, love, character-driven. If you haven't read it, I won't, give any spoilers, but the main character is falsely accused and unjustly punished for something he didn't do at all. He was framed, I guess you could call it that, and spent many, a long time having to deal with the ramifications of this false accusement. And then out of the ashes, he remakes himself. He gets out somehow, I won't go into that, comes back as a new identity, new person almost. And if you haven't read it, I would really suggest reading this. This is an amazing book. And I've talked about it before, but I won't go into it. But that's, for me, why I read, is for those stories. Because me, and probably like most of you, you can relate to that. I know I can relate from having a past like that and having to get to where I am today and, going through all the stuff. So, and then the last question is, has reading changed how you see the world? Absolutely yes. For me, it has. For me, it has opened up so many different cultures, countries, peoples, perspectives, ideas, opinions, and I like that. I don't want to live in a little box. If you don't already know, I live in America. I've never traveled out of America. I want to. One day we will. My wife and I will. We have traveled quite a bit throughout the United States, though, over the years. But I've always been very interested in culture, different cultures, and learning about people, just because it doesn't matter where you're at in life, where you live, what country you live in, we all deal with the same stuff. We might have a different accent, we might have a different background, different religion or culture or whatever, but we all deal with the same stuff. It's human stuff. We deal with it, but it's global, everybody on this planet, but we all deal with the same stuff and we go through the same things in life. Similar most, and so yes, it has opened my eyes up to a lot, and I've met a lot of people, a lot of wonderful people throughout the world on Facebook, or not Facebook, BookTube and things like that. And I just love talking to people that have different perspectives than me. That's it. I don't want to rant too long on that, but so that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.